Hey, how's it going? In this video, I'll be explaining what Ematerials are and how to create them in ARMA Reforger tools. So, in our mod project folder, we're going to go to this window, right click, find a little green circle with the word material on it. We're going to open that up. We're going to see that it's going to ask us for a file name. We're going to name it test underscore material. Perfect. Now we've created our Ematerial. So we're going to double click that, open it up, and see we have an empty material here. So, looking at the right side here, we're going to see a whole bunch of properties in different areas where we can apply resources. We're going to also see that we have our class. So our class is going to be map PBR basic. There's different kinds and classes of eMaterials, specifically some for handling post-processing, some for particles, and then classes, they're going to be glass, multi-material, or in this instance, PBR basic. There's a whole bunch you can play around with. But for this instance, we're going to work with the glass one in the PBR basic. So looking at this, we have our basic material maps and its modifiers. So we're going to see our base color map, which is a combination of our base color and roughness. We're going to see our opacity. We're going to see our normal map, which is normal, metallic, and AO, all assigned together in a grouping. And so to explain what a BCR map is going to almost act like in your eMaterial here, is this is going to be your colored image. So say for example that you had a model that you purchased somewhere, or you have created and worked with Substance Painter, or wherever you have created your UV mapping, this is where your BCR would go, or your base color. So we're going to create our own base color and import it, which I've already done. And here we go. Perfect. So we're going to work with this, and we're going to use this as our base image. So now that we have this, we can create our normal map. So I want this to be a metallic look to it, right? So I might use this on a, say like a metal wall, or like maybe a metal cube. So I'm going to look for metal fine inside the resource picker. I'm going to go to metal fine NMO, choose that. And now I can go down here to basic material modifiers and play around with all this. So we have our roughness here that will allow me to either go down to make it more shinier, or bring this up and make it matted. So we're just gonna run through here and make it a little bit more shinier. Perfect. We can play with our metalness scale too. Drop that there. And there's a bunch of other options too you can play with, like shading and everything, but we're not going to play with that in this instance. Your emissives. So just like this base color and how it's projecting the image, there's different channels for colors too. So the black here is going to be projected through the emissive as nothing. So it's going to be a void, right? So our image here and the rest of it will be where the light is being projected out of the material. So if I go to emissive map and I paste the BCR on there, we can see, if I choose a color, that we can make it glow. And you'll only see that it comes right out of the BCR's locations for the actual image itself instead of the black. Pretty neat. You can change the color. Say I want it to be red. Or say I want it to be blue or purple. We can do that. So removing that, we're going to move down here. This is your environment reflection all in general, your alpha, your wetness, your globals, your detail maps, your height maps, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go too far in depth with all this stuff here, as if you guys are just new and learning, I don't want to completely overwhelm you. I'm just going to stick to the basics of what you need to know if you're retexturing something, or if you're trying to assign something from a model you had obtained or created. So we have our BCR, we have our NMO. Now we're ready to utilize this material. So we can go into the world editor. I'm going to change my window here. You can see it. We're going to load world. We're going to use mptest, mptest.ent, and now we are in an empty world. So we're going to go to generic entity to act like our object, and we're going to apply the component mesh object. We have added that. Now we can get a cube by typing default, and now we have our cube. So say I wanted to apply our material to our cube. That cube has a material assignment to it. I can now go to my material and assign it to that. And now we have our material assigned to the cube. We can go back in and we can go to the emissives, reapply the emissives. Let me just find the BCR, attach it, and now we can project the light from that texture. It's pretty neat. So, moving back to creating a glass material. So, if you wanted to create a material that is glass, we're going to go back to our project folder and then click back in the window, create another material. We're going to call it test_glass and jump into this material. Now we're going to go up to the top where the class is, change class. We're going to stay in the kind objects, and we're going to go to class, go near the bottom, map PBR basic glass. Now we have this, you can see the class has changed, and we can go to our BCR map. So in this instance, I'm not going to be working with a BCR map. I do not want to apply any color variation to our glass. I just want to work with the opacity and what it's doing. So I can go to glass, and we can find that there's a whole bunch of glass opacities we can work with. So we're going to use, for this instance, st_glass_test_01_a.edds. And now you can see we have our basic glass. With this glass, we can go back to the roughness, we can make it shine a little bit, or we can come down and we can go to emissives, make it a glowing glass, or we can go down, change all the other properties here, but we can come down to our glass modification at the bottom, and we can go to refraction intensity. What this is going to do is, now that we've moved this modifier, we can see that more have popped up. So we can create a chromatic intensity to it, where you can see a little chromatic blur inside of it. You can also increase the dim intensity to create that more of that blur effect. And we can utilize this and now apply this material to our cube. Let me save this and then change back to the world. Now that we're back in the world, we can go back to our new material, choose it, and now we can see that we have a basic glass material. Now, it looks weird, right? Because now we've applied that chromatic aberration to it and the dim intensity to it. So now it's going to be like almost a blurred material. You can play around with the different modifiers on it. I'm going to minimize my window and then play around with it live in the world to fine tune it. We can raise the roughness up on it. We can change the color on it, make it green. Bohemia Interactive has also created multiple pre-developed materials for their objects in-game. If you're looking for specifics like rubber or canvas or even a glass that you've already seen in-game that you would like to use, you can find those materials within the ArmaReforger tools and utilize those. If you want to save yourself the time, instead of creating your own material, you can utilize theirs. But anyways, hope this simplified things for everybody, and I'll see you next time.